Can Rigathi Gachagua vie? This is a question that has gone around and been answered, tackled by various people. And I want to clarify whether he can vie or not. Ojuma Barakia, again, short legal lessons. So, can Gachagua vie? Yes. Automatic answer is yes. This question was asked Senior Counsel Charles Kanchama, and his response was yes. The same was asked to Nelson Harvey. The same response was maintained, as well as Abenasi. Both of them, or the three of them, are all senior counsel. And uniquely, they all served as either the chairperson of the Law Society of Kenya or the president of the Law Society of Kenya, or one is still serving as the current president. And they're also both senior counsel. So we can't contradict their position, but we may vary based on our opinion. If senior counsel Nelson Harvey said that Gachagua can automatically vie even without appealing the 3-judgment decision that upheld his impeachment by both the Senate and the County Assembly, I differ very respectfully with that position. Gachagua must appeal in order to secure his position to vie. Without a substantive appeal, then automatically the decision of the High Court will stand unchallenged, and therefore it will be barred from vying. But let's see how he can vie, why he still can vie, notwithstanding his impeachment. Article 99(3) of the Constitution. And this was relied on by the three senior counsels I've mentioned. What does Article 99(3) of the Constitution provides? It states that a person is not disqualified under Clause 3. And we'll get back, what is that? This Clause 2. A person is not disqualified under Clause 2. And clarify, what is this Clause 2 being referred under Article 99(3) of the Constitution? So a person is not disqualified under that clause unless all possibilities of appeal or review of the relevant decision or sentence have been exhausted. So this section says that unless there's still possibility of appealing a decision or a sentence, then one is not disqualified from vying. But this provision refers to Clause 2. Let's then go to Clause 2. What is Clause 2? So Clause 2 is a clause of the same provision, Article 99. So it's Article 99, Clause 2, which provide that, which basically provide for disqualification of a person from being elected as a member of parliament. Now, if you marry it to the provision we stated, Article 99(3), there's a problem, because this disqualification they're talking about under Article 99(3), where you are protected from being disqualified before exhausting all the appellate remedies available, applies to members of parliament as per Clause 2 of Article 99 of the Constitution. Let's just check what is Article 99 in general. So Article 99 of the Constitution provides for qualifications and disqualification of members of parliament. So the entire provisions, including Article 99(3), are in respect to election of members of parliament. So how does this provision protect Rigathi Gachagua if you want to vie for election as a deputy president? Because only members of parliament, as per the provision we read, are protected, that if they don't exhaust all the appellate mechanism available yet, they can still vie. But Rigathi Gachagua is not a member of parliament, because who is a member of parliament? Article 93 of the Constitution defines a parliament to include the National Assembly and the Senate. In other words, a member of parliament, as per the definition under Article 93, is a member of the Senate or the National Assembly. Members of county assemblies are not members of parliament. Tafadhali. They are MCAs. They are not MPs. Yes. So a member of parliament is either a member of National Assembly or the Senate. We have a bicameral system of parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly. So Rigathi Gachagua is not an MP in accordance with that provision. But can it be protected by Article 99(3), even without being an MP, or if he intends to vie for any other position which is not a member of parliament position? We started by saying yes, he can. And how is this possible? Now we want to relate how Article 99(3) protects Rigathi Gachagua if he intends to vie. How do we do this? Let's check what are the qualification and disqualification for a person to vie as a deputy president. Now this one we go back to now Article 48. Article 48 of the Constitution provides for this, that each candidate in presidential election shall nominate a person who is qualified for nomination for election as a president, as a candidate for deputy president. Just in simple terms, that for you to qualify for election as a deputy president, then you must be qualified or eligible for nomination for election as a president. That is, qualification for the president applies mutatis mutandis to qualification of a deputy president. So the provision does not help us either, because it doesn't tell us how Gachagua is protected under Article 99(3), which protects the MPs. To get this now, we'll have to check what are the qualification and non-qualification for a person to be elected as a president. So this is when we go back to Article 137 of the Constitution. Article 137 of the Constitution provides for qualification and disqualification for election, for nomination for election as a president. Of great importance to this discussion and analysis is Article 137(1)(b), which provide that for a candidate to qualify for election as a president, that person must qualify for election as a member of parliament. Now we found a connection, one connection, that for you to qualify to be elected as a president, then you must qualify to be elected as a member of parliament. In other words, all the qualification and disqualification for a member of parliament applies mutatis mutandis to that of a president. And all the qualification and disqualification for a person to be elected as a president applies similarly, mutatis mutandis, to that of a deputy president. So we are back to Article 99(3). In other words, disqualification and qualification for an MP is the same as those for a deputy president and a president, as per the various provisions we've read. And this also, we connected to Section 24(3) of the Election Act 2011. So how is Gachagua protected under Article 99(3)? We have already seen. It can either be disqualified if he has exhausted all appeal mechanism available, because the disqualification based on the grounds that you've exhausted all the appeal mechanism available applies to the member of parliament. The same applies to the deputy president. So a deputy president or a president cannot be disqualified for vying for any position unless they exhaust all appeal mechanism available. So the answer is yes. Gachagua can still vie and is protected just like MPs under Article 99(3) of the Constitution, which is read together with Section 24(3) of the Election Act 2011. But why was I differing? Why did I differ with Senior Counsel Harvey? Is that Harvey mentioned at one point that even without appealing, Deputy President, former emeritus, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, can still vie. I don't think that position is accurate. Why? Because despite the fact that Article 99(3) indicates that all possibilities, that in case there's still a possibility to vie, in other words, it does not mean you must have instituted an appeal. There is a possibility of an appeal. Then you can't be disqualified. How does the possibility to appeal arises? You know, after judgment is rendered, you are given 14 days to appeal. So you have 14 days to lodge a notice of appeal. And a notice of appeal is not an appeal. You have to file a memorandum of appeal. That is when you will have a substantive appeal. So if you just lodge a notice of appeal and stop at that point, when the duration specified for lodging an appeal after notice of appeal, which is 60 days as per the Court of Appeal rules, if the time lapses, then you cannot bring an appeal unless you have justifiable reasons. So in this case, possibilities of an appeal arises when you have lodged a notice of appeal and also filed a memorandum of appeal. You are intending, or you are actually have a substantive appeal ongoing. If the time lapses without you appealing, then there are no possibility of an appeal. And without a possibility of an appeal, the decision of the High Court, 3-judgment decision, upholding the impeachment stands, and Gachagua will stand impeached. And therefore, he will not be protected under Article 99(3) because there will be no existing possibilities of an appeal anymore. So for Gachagua to protect his interest, he must lodge an appeal. So while the appeal is still ongoing, he will have the right to vie for any position from the MCA to presidency, except women representative. So we've learned how Gachagua can vie and why he still have chances to vie.